Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Friday in the Rev. And here we go. Wrapping up another week, and looks like the campaign is getting closer. The election is getting closer. We have a little sign thing going on, huh? We had a little problem with signs and people fighting over sign turf.
I cracked a joke about that. People weren't happy about my joke.
Really?
I said, was Ken Fiola seen anywhere in the vicinity?
No, but yeah, we got a report again of Coogan signs appearing in places that have a lot of vacant areas because
Yep.
remember one election that we were talking about how isn't it amazing that there's a lot of signs in some of these areas, but they know what property is left derelict and what isn't, so they stick up signs up in those properties, even though
Right.
you don't have to ask for permission because they do have a list of the people who are, these properties are not really being maintained or anything else like that. But and did you see the 3 minute video? I think somebody texted me the video. It might be that thing they taped up at BCC. Oh, we've got a severe weather alert. It's coming in
Yeah.
right now to my
We've
phone.
had that for a while.
Well, it just says now. This is a new one now. It says like it's within 4.1 miles of Fall River. So everybody look out. Don't walk around with any metal in your hand, sticking it up like a lightning rod. But yeah, we've he made a 3 minute video, and he started the video by talking about how he's brought uh, how he made it our government more transparent. He said, I brought transparency to the government. He's the least transparent mayor in the history of the city. I mean, we don't know. We still don't know really what happened. Oh, Annalise likes your haircut. Well, how about mine, Annalise? Come on, let me get a compliment at all. Although it is getting it is getting a little thick over here. I don't know, but transparency. Let's see. Uh, we still don't know what happened with Malone. We don't know what happened really with John Kerry. They fight everything. When you need Freedom of Information Acts. Thank you, Iris. I appreciate it. Uh, but everything is done behind closed doors. You get more information from Moscow and from North Korea than you do from. I mean, he is absolutely the least uh, transparent mayor I've ever seen. He may be the least transparent politician. And they not only don't give you any information, they don't, even when you try to get it and make public records requests, they block it, they delay it, it's just, they just, it's incredible. I mean, we
Or
do.
you can be like us and don't get it at all.
Oh, somebody just texted me. They got the thing in the mail with Paul Coogan's campaign thing. Let's see.
You mean this thing?
Yeah, exactly. Paul Coogan is the only mayoral candidate with a proven record of accomplishments for Fall River, accomplishments for the rich people. But public has invested millions in streets and sidewalk repairs, renovations to public parks, and key municipal facilities. Well, what key municipal facilities? I know you invested $7 million in benches and lights on Duval Street, and some of the lights are still up there, even though Duval Street still looks like Fallujah. But I mean, this is that I was getting to his 3-minute thing when he talked about transparency. Let's see, economic development, small businesses. Oh yeah, we're just a. I mean, this city is just full of small businesses. It's unbelievable. It's like the old days when I walk up Pleasant Street when I was born and brought up in a Flint. Uh, thank you, Betsy. New name. Uh, when I walked up Pleasant Street growing up, there wasn't an empty store. There wasn't an empty store downtown. They had tons of small businesses. I know one thing. The last time I checked businesses, Newton, which is fundamentally the same size as Fall River, had 10 times the amount of small businesses, and of course, you got to expect that their income is 5 times what it is. The average per capita and household income is about 5 times what Fall Rivers is. Let's see. Public safety has worked to secure additional staffing. Yeah. He took the money back. We're running on demand. He's got a 10-year plan to put 12 people on, which will still leave us 10 people on, which will still leave us 12 people under what they already want. I mean, this is like the biggest joke I've ever heard. Education is facilitate expansion of pre-K classrooms. Yeah, but we still got one of the worst educational systems in the state, and you were part of it for your entire life. What a crap. Homelessness. Oh, yeah. Paul, and what did Paul just do? Give $2.5 million to one of the richest people around to build more market rate housing. Am I correct in that assumption, CJ?
It was actually the state. It's that abused program known as HDIP.
HDIP, yeah, okay.
Because the city has done a lot of what Linda calls spot zoning. And Rumsey said, no, that's not spot zoning. When they started making everything HDIP zones.
Oh my God! Yeah. Well, look. When I said he did, but he is the state because we know that the state runs. One of the state reps is the real. He does have a very close relationship with them because he makes sure everybody gets rich. Homelessness. Paul created the floor of his first permanent overflow shelter. Yeah, sure. At first homeless outreach and negotiated.
Okay, hold on a second. I got to stop you there. I want to know where this permanent overflow shelter is. I want to know how permanent it is.
Yeah.
Who's funding it? How many beds is it? And is it occupied during the day? That's the first thing. Secondly,
yeah, but you can't know that because nobody has any information. He talks about how transparent he is, but we don't even know. I've never seen a lot of advertising for this. We've still got a major homelessness problem. We have no affordable housing, even though everybody else in the country has admitted that affordable housing. And again, Paul Coogan after 6 years. See, that's the thing about Paul. Paul's going to fix everything eventually. But it never gets fixed. He's working on this. He's been in this 6 years. And we have nothing really to show for it, the average person. Actually, I had I saw a text from somebody about a comment about the city is moving forward and blah, 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 blah. And I think that we can prove we're not going, there are a lot of people going in the right direction. If you got a building and Paul, he might lease it and make you a millionaire.
That's right.
If you want to become a market rate developer and you're one of Paul Coogan's friends, you may give up your law practice to become a market rate developer.
That's right.
And this is the kind of government that he's been running, non-effective for 6 years. No, he keeps saying this, but nothing ever is done. And you called me the other day and said the debate that I had with him about Durfee was running again.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving off a cliff, I think. Yeah. But well, you see, that debate kind of showed how full of crap he was because he lied about everything it was nice that you see it, but it's not really. It's not really. Who is the current city? I don't know.
I believe, I could be wrong, and if I am, if you're watching, please say so, because I'd like to correct it right away. But from what I've been led to believe by the Facebook post, so again, I don't know how accurate it is.
Facebook.
It seems that Cliff Ponte sent out a samurai message to the person involved.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because somebody did, and no, as everybody knows, I don't really do Facebook just for that reason because these things to me just show up and you don't know what context they're in, and that's very important. What context they're in. I didn't know who he was referring or what he was referring to, but this is what I got. Anyone can swing a sword around for attention. Real strength is knowing when to put it down and focus on serving the people. Leadership isn't about theatrics or cheap battles. It's about delivering results, respecting others, and moving the city forward. That's where my energy is, and that's where it will stay. Well, okay. And then he had a quote, a pseudo samurai quote. Being a warrior is not always fighting to instigate. Sometimes it means knowing when to put your sword down and pick your battles. Well, we're not winning the battle, Cliff. With all due respect, I know that you're serving, supposedly serving the people. But the person who sent me this, I said, I don't believe the city is moving forward. How much has this city moved forward? I see it moving backwards. The average per capita income is $31,000. 10 years ago, it was $28,000. The average people aren't moving forward. If you look at the stats, the rich are getting much richer while the poor are getting poorer. Then I sent this individual an actual samurai quote, one that's hanging near my samurai sword, which used to be behind me, but I moved it. And it's one of my favorites because everybody should live their life this way. It's called I Choose, and it's got a picture of a real life samurai geared up with a sword and a helmet on. I choose to live by choice, not by chance, to be motivated, not manipulated, to be useful, not used, to make choices, not excuses, to excel, not to compete. I chose self-esteem, not self-pity. I chose to listen to my inner voice, not to the random opinions of others. I choose to do the things that you won't so I can continue to do the things that you can't. That's somebody who is willing to strive. That's a great one of my favorite quotes. But the city for the average people of Fall River is going nowhere, and I'm sorry. As much as they try to say they're going to pick their battles, well, they're not picking the right battles. They funded every single contract, every single ridiculous pay raise, with the exception of some people who voted against them. And we know that Michelle has voted against a lot of them, and Cliff has some. But they have not put their foot down as a city council on any excessive spending of this guy for 6 years. Our budget is nearly doubled. Let's look at the facts. Our budget has gone up 90%. And what do we have for that? Do we have more firefighters? No. Do we have more police? No. Do we have better services? No. And Paul's ridiculous thing about the streets. What streets did he fix? Duval Street for his pal Tony? Where did he put the lights? Spent a lot of money on infrastructure. Yeah, for lights. $7 million of city. Well, it's opera, but it was our money. It was our money because it was given to us. And he spent it on lights for a facility for an area that was already going to get lights and benches because the MBTA was going to put lights and benches there, but we had to have better lights in there. For what? Didn't you say you knew somebody that actually went down to pick up somebody on the T and there was actually only one person on the T?
Yes.
and all the cars had not
in service.
Not in service. So, I mean, listen.
Tell me that's not a lot of money being wasted.
Paul Coogan has a non-debatable record. That's why people talk about these debates coming up. There's no necessity for that debate. And somebody, I think, on Facebook, which is, like I said, another reason that I don't go on Facebook because it irritates the hell out of me. Somebody said, oh, they're not going to go to these debates. They just, blah, 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 because they're disrespecting it. Listen, these candidates, they said that they saw a debate and the candidates didn't rip into each other. But listen, these candidates should not be trying to rip each other apart. Bring your message to the people. Tell us how you're going to fix Fall River. Tell us what you see is wrong and how you're going to fix it. And run against Paul Coogan. There's no need to debate him. He's got 6 years. 6 years of $40,000 pay raises, $20,000 pay raises in the face of virtual bankruptcy. We're broke. $2 million shortage for healthcare that he was warned that would happen, and they still spent the money. $3 million shortage for trash. I mean, we have probably the greatest record of lack of performance in the history of politics. I mean, I've never seen anybody with a more abysmal record than him, unless you're rich and one of his friends. Then you get to buy a building and put supposedly $300,000 in it, but make $1.25 million. So, I mean, this is crazy.
I was going to say, I heard that the school department does have a PR firm, and they handle or manage the Fall River Public Schools Facebook page. I don't know how much we're paying that firm to manage that page, but doesn't surprise me because the superintendent's already said, we don't have the money to pay somebody to monitor the page all day. Get rid of the PR firm and you'll have the money.
Yeah, he lives in George's Head.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Taylor.
Pretty sure of what?
That the school department has a PR firm.
Well, well, if they do, let me give you mine. The best PR? If you were in the top 10 in the state in education rather than the bottom 10 or 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of 351 cities and towns, superintendent. Just like you were complaining because people wanted to know information and you're yelling at you, they're out of order, and and you should be ashamed of yourself because we're not welcoming. As I said on a previous show, you're not in the business of being the welcome wagon. You're in the business of education, and you're
there you go, Taylor. Colin Dye, a school committee member. We do have a PR firm. I want to get rid of it. It's around $30,000.
Okay, which relative is that?
We have someone who does.
Which relative is that? Okay, thank you, Colin, for that. Thank you for that. No, yeah, well, thanks for that confirmation. Yeah, PR firm. Do you notice that it's always politicians that hire PR firms, movie actors and actors and actresses, and they get PR firms to help their careers, and the government is great at hiring public relations firms. If you're a business, you can hire a PR firm to hype your business. This is a government. Do you think Mass General needs a PR firm? They have the #1 cardiac care unit in the country and possibly in the world. They don't need a PR firm. The fact that they have a, amazing reputation for excellence is the only PR they need. The taxpayers are paying us to PR a system that's failing. We all know that the entire public education system is a disaster. I just saw a discussion about the public education system on X and say why they want to disband the public education system. Jimmy Carter created the Federal Department of Education, and it's been useless ever since. They spend billions and billions of dollars. And we went after he went. We went from the number one country in education when Carter created this organization to 24th in the world. That's you can't PR your way out of lack of performance. I'm sorry. You can hire the best PR firm in the world if you own a restaurant and you serve garbage for food. You can bring all those guys that have the TV programs that save restaurants, Guy Fieri and all them other guys, that restaurant rescue and everything else. If you're serving crap, people are not going to go there to eat. People are not going to go there. PR firm, spend a 30 grand on something that will affect the teachers and the children.
Well, from what I understand, and Colin, correct me if I'm wrong if you know this, because you're here. Teachers are forbidden to fail a student. This is what I've been told by several teachers, that they are forbidden to fail a student. And you wonder why we're in the bottom 10% of the state.
Well, yeah, let's see if Colin. Introduce new hires. Why? They already got hired.
Right.
I mean, this is the typical moronic, useless government. They're just hiring their friends. What friend is getting this? Introduce it to who? Do you think I give a damn who the principal is? I give a damn that the school is performing.
Exactly.
And after they're hired, what good does there you go, Superintendent Welcome Wagon. We can give her a name now. We have to be welcoming. We're going to hire a PR firm to tell everybody you're the principal. We don't give a damn if you perform or not. We don't care. That's the last thing we consider. I'm sorry, and you're right, Annalise. Jason was right. Your best advertisement is your performance. The number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 school systems in the state of Massachusetts.
Start with Jersey, Colin.
When rich people move, they look at 2 things: crime and education if they have children. Now, you think that somebody that's moving to an area that has children and that's going to go into a school, they look at the school system. It's a reflection of how the community is doing. And we have had an underperforming, but the entire public education system, they said, and they want to disband that government bureaucratic agency and turn it back over. This went all the way back to Reagan. I saw a speech by Ronald Reagan complaining about the feds and this department that Carter created. Well, Carter, who until Biden was the most ineffective president in the history of the United States. But then again, Jimmy Carter did have something working for him. He really was a nice guy.
Yes, I mean, Colin, it is recent.
After he left the presidency, he worked for years, well into his 90s, building homes and stuff like that. He was a man who cared, but he just was an incompetent, which again, we get back to what we keep telling you. Don't elect people because you like them. Elect them because they're competent. You don't hire a plumber that can't fix your plumbing. You don't hire an electrician that can't fix your electricity. And you should not be hiring people to go to the city council because you like them. They're a friend of yours. Non-performance, and I'm sorry, with all due respect to trying to move the city forward, look at the stats. Look at the stats.
Well, the other thing is, when you're talking about education, all you have to do is look at how many of the new admissions to Bristol Community College have to take remedial courses for English and math before they can take college level courses, because they're not doing well in school at the high school level.
Yeah, they're not.
And I remember when I was teaching, we would have to do the same thing with a lot of students and have them go through remedial math, remedial reading, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
We had 19 and 20-year-olds fresh out of high school that couldn't read at the third grade level. But the high school passed them. They couldn't do basic algebra.
Yeah.
And the high school passed them.
Yeah, well, but you know what they should do, CJ? Hire a PR firm.
Yeah, well, they did.
But this is what they. Yeah, that was a joke. It was a joke. Obviously, it was a segue into something. Look, we read a report a few years ago on this show about the Baltimore school system.
Yes.
The high schools in Baltimore. This is what they do in these states, especially in blue states. Florida has the #1 educational system in the country now because what? DeSantis is holding their feet to the fire to give them an education, not to perform. Accountability, which is an expletive in their vocabulary. You can't say that. But the Baltimore school system, and they documented this. They were graduating. I think it was a low number, but still, you think in high school. Let's put this in context. They graduated about 6 or 7 people that were reading tested at the third grade level. Third grade. They had a few that were tested at the 4th and 5th grade level. About 45% of the graduates tested at the 8th grade level. Only about 5% tested at grade level. Everybody else was below, freshmen in high school, so graduating. And you know what Baltimore did to fix that problem when they were questioned on it? They said, we cannot fail these people. We're going to give them a high school diploma because even though they're functional illiterates, they can't read and write. We don't want to hurt their feelings, but we're going to turn them loose into the job market as functional illiterates. And they actually had someone who was the equity officer of the school that said, yeah, we're not gonna flunk anybody. We're gonna give them their diplomas, even though they can't even virtually read and write. So what are they gonna do when they're gonna come out? They're gonna go to med school? I don't think so. They're gonna go to college? You talked about remedial. You can't even remediate these people. If you're reading at the third grade level, it's gonna take them 5 years to get you to read at a high school or a freshman in college level. These people are going to turn out into society with no job future. They can maybe be a dishwasher or maybe a drug dealer or a pimp. That's the only way they'll make a lot of money. But this is what they did in Baltimore, which is one of the biggest pits because they created this pit with programs like this. This is what the Fall River School said. PR to introduce principles? PR to do what? Nelson just commented earlier. He sent us something a year or two ago where Fall River was in the educational system. They were like third or fourth from the bottom. We know this educational system is failing us, but this is what they do. They deflect. They hire a PR firm. They hire consultants while they continue to non-perform, tell you to reelect them and give them more of your tax money.
There you go, Chip. There's one for you. Kayla Perry. She wanted to keep her child back, and they wouldn't.
Yeah. No, you're right, Annalisa. They still have summer school, but for some reason, I don't know whatever comes of that. Because I saw a lot of kids because I drive up Ellsbury Street every single day. I always take my dog for a walk at least once at BCC because, she's not going to just run around the backyard all the time, but I like to take her for a walk up there. I saw those kids at school, in summer school. But I mean, look at the last time I checked, and I can check it quickly now, but I think a place like Newton had over 90%, 95% of the residents in Newton had a high school diploma, and 75% of them had a bachelor's degree or greater. And you wonder why they have the income. Income, education, increases your potential to earn income. I mean, if you're educated, whether it's a trade, not only college, I'm just saying just college, but a trade or something else, you learn more money. But we cut these people loose. Is terrible, and this is why people are so turned off by the public education system. And this is the problem. Politicians love to make excuses, lie, tell half truths, and infrastructure. My streets are dumb. Eastern Avenue, from Pleasant to County. Every time I go over there, I don't know if I'm going to lose the front end of my car. There's bumps all over the place. It's a disaster. But the Duval corridor is going to be beautiful because
and you know what gets me? Oak Grove Avenue was just redone.
Yep.
And then they dug up the street again because they didn't handle some piping issues. Okay? And you know what their excuse was? Well, it's only a binder coat. That's not the final coat. That doesn't matter. You had some asshole who didn't know what he was doing, and he skipped over that process.
Yeah.
Once that binder coat's down, that's it. Nothing breaks it for 5 years, like it or not.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, and they lie. They're pathological liars. When he talks about public safety, Paul has worked to secure additional staffing. After that tragedy we had, they immediately found 1.5 million supposedly, but they couldn't find it before, and we were still understaffed. But he started yammering about, I got a 5-year plan to put 5 people on, and nothing of consequence, and you just wait for it to disappear. But then as soon as they got money from the state, he took the money back. Is that a commitment to public safety? Why didn't you leave the 1.5 million, add the 1.2 you got from the state, added it, and bring the fire department up to full staffing? Because you're full of shit. It's that simple. Okay.
And no, David, nobody forgot about the car accident that the mayor had when he paid off the victim in order to avoid charges for leaving the scene of an accident after causing property damage. Felony.
Yeah, if that was anybody else, you'd be like the AG, that got arrested in Newport. Everybody saw the video of her getting arrested. You can't arrest me. It's like, well, if she made a fool out of herself. But again, blue state, what did she get? She got that job because she's politically connected. Obviously, she's got the.
But she's suspended 6 months without pay.
I know.
And that cost her about $50,000.
Yeah, well, she got suspended for 6 months without pay, and everybody that is a credible attorney said she should have been terminated immediately. If you look at that video, it's ridiculous. They looked like 2 teenagers, drunken teenagers, and it's crazy.
Bruno, let's be serious, okay? If there's a water leak or a gas leak, of course they're going to have to cut it up. But cutting it up because some moron forgot to replace the pipes? There's a difference here. This is what we talk about, common sense.
The least common of senses.
The least common of all senses, exactly.
Yeah, well, Bruno, they should have had, they lie a lot in their thing. What he did for education, we have virtually one of the worst in the world, and in the state, and 24th in the world. But they lie about everything else. What they should have said, there was a leak there. Yeah, and then they would have said, well, I had to dig it up. But no, they actually tell you. Right. They actually had to dig it up because some moron didn't do his job And that
Exactly.
moron, just like this one, she got a 6-month suspension, but she's coming back to work. How can that woman go in a court of, be in a court of law trying to uphold the law after that video? I mean, that was a disgrace. I mean, what she should have done is shut her. And she was asked, like, they tried to give her every break in the world. The police officers were telling her, just go away. The owners want you out of here. And she, I mean, talk about being belligerent. And she, yeah, they did everything they could not to arrest her. And then she's going to go into a court of law and say she is going to be a defender of the law. Yeah, I don't think so. This is the problem with politicians. They got an excuse for everything. In business, you run a business the way Paul's run this city, we're out of, and we will be out of business at some point in time. We'll be in receivership thanks for his lack of stewardship because, as I said, our budget is doubled. What's happened? We had somebody with a $40,000 pay raise, a $20,000 pay, a whole bunch of $10,000, $15,000 pay raises. We throw around money like a drunken sailor. We had $600,000 worth of pay raises in this city budget, and we're broke. We're $5 million short.
And remember, if we go into receivership, if they appoint the receiver to the city of Fall River, which I can only pray for, every one of those pay raises out the window. Every one of those labor contracts out the window.
That's right. That's
okay?
Right.
Your taxes through the roof. Your water through the roof. Why? Because one idiot decided he was going to grease the wheels with his friends.
And, you know, we're talking about, like, let's expose one of the most reprehensible lies. Remember the accident that we had to read the report on the show? You read the report, CJ.
Yep.
An accident right around election time it's terrible that anybody's in an accident, but he misrepresented all the facts in that accident.
That's right. That's right.
And we read what? What did you read on the air? The police report.
That's right.
Which included an eyewitness accounts. It was nothing like Paul described.
That's right. And if you remember correctly, after we read it, we received shit from BCC.
Yeah, because you can't tell the truth. You have to keep the propaganda machine going. This is what they do. I mean, you look at what media does and what the people do. You know, it's like they're only interested in maintaining their power. I mean, we had a school shooting where unfortunately 2 very small children were killed, and they've made this into politics, and they actually attacked people praying. And now they're defending that. They weren't disrespecting them. No, yes they were. Yes they were. Immediately they went into action trying to defend. We're tired of thoughts and prayers. We're going to keep our anti-gun thing going. It's always the gun, not the wacko that said he hated Jews, Catholics, black people, Mexicans, everybody fundamentally, except, I guess, Palestine. He had a magazine with Free Palestine and killed Trump. And you wonder why these nut bags get nuttier and affect these. It's because of these people enable them to do this. And let me tell you something. Not one of those people who said they were praying for those children and then actually disrespect by saying, oh, look, what good does prayer do? Because they were shot while they were praying. Well, there's not one of those people who said their thoughts and prayers with those children that didn't say that we should not get to the bottom of this, why it happened, and stop it. Not one of those people said that was the only thing they were going to do. It was one of the things they were going to do because they had faith. That was reprehensible. Those comments were reprehensible, and it shows that these Democrats have no soul. All they think about is getting back into power and spinning everything and making everything into trying to get a foothold with the campaign. The anti-gun lobby, okay. So that's the first thing, that AR-15. You got politicians who know nothing about guns, Klobuchar said it was an automatic weapon. It's not an automatic weapon. It's a semi-automatic weapon. So number one, there was a pistol, there was a shotgun, and there was a rifle. So, yeah, but that's not the point. And if he didn't have a shotgun, a pistol, and a rifle, he might have gone over there and blown up the school. You can go online today and learn how to build a bomb. Who knows? These nutbags. There's a thing in people. There's something that people understand who have been in the business of protecting people's lives. If somebody is crazy enough to be willing to die for what they want, you're probably not going to be able to stop them from perpetrating things like this, because most of the time they're crazy. If the same thing with the people who strap a bomb vest to them and walk into a place and blow themselves up, or drive a truck full of bombs into a Marine barracks in Beirut. Can you stop them? You can minimize them, but anybody who's willing to die for something doesn't care. Unfortunately, these things are going to happen. All we can do as a society is get to the bottom of it. And those people who said our thoughts and prayers are with those children and with those families, to fundamentally dismiss the fact that these people were in their thoughts. To me, they're not. And then that mayor that said, "Oh, have some humanity." Well, where was the humanity of this whack job that was shooting it and said in his own manifesto that he loved the idea of killing children? I mean, that doesn't even. I mean, that guy, he should have been locked up a long time ago. And now I read in one of the national media reports that his mother is failing to cooperate with law enforcement. Well, look, it's crazy. This stuff is crazy. This should not polarize a nation.
Yeah, but you know what the sad part about it is? If you could get to that kid before he did anything, or she, or whatever pronoun he was using, before this happened, you couldn't lock him up. It's a violation of his civil rights. You can't lock him up because he's mentally ill. Yeah, you get 3 days. 3 days. That's it. And after 3 days, you're out. You're gone. Goodbye.
Yeah.
What good did that do?
No, you're right. Well, this is what the Democrats love to do. They're going to complain about this stuff, but they enable it. Even look at D.C. Muriel Bowser came on. She said it's amazing, the 87% decrease in carjackings, and thanking Trump. But as soon as they leave, it's going to go back to the way it was, because what happens in places like D.C. and Massachusetts, revolving door. The police do their job. They arrest criminals, and they stick them in Massachusetts, and it's like, whoop, in the door, out the back, out the side, in the front door, out the side door, back on the street. They've had people in New York City. I think there was one in D.C. they were talking about. He carjacked the car in the morning, went to court, got out of court, and carjacked another car in the afternoon. What good? I hate to tell you this, but I did, I've been in other countries, and I've seen the penal system in those countries. They're a lot safer than we are. You know why? Over there, nobody wants to go to jail, and they put them in jail in those countries. Nobody wants to go to jail in most other countries in the world. And in this country, we don't even put them in jail. They want to eliminate virtually that. I think that Mondani wants to eliminate all misdemeanors.
Let's go to jail in Turkey. I think that's going to be wonderful. How about Iraq? Yeah, let's go to jail in Iraq. How about Japan?
Remember that movie about in jail in Turkey, and it was based on a true story?
Yes, I do.
Midnight Express.
Midnight Express, that's right.
Midnight Express, being in jail in Turkey. They made another movie about a girl that was in jail in Thailand, too. Not a nice place to be. But you look at what happens in this country. That Mondani wants to eliminate all misdemeanors and not even prosecute or try them, just let them go. But then what they do is they take all the felonies and they classify them as misdemeanors. So fundamentally, there'll be no crime in New York
There you
in the
go.
records
There you go.
because this is what they do. Now they're investigating D.C. for fixing all the numbers. Crime is down. Well, murders are down, but there's still the murder capital of the one of the murder capitals of the world. This is the problem. Politicians never fix a problem. They hide it, they lie about it, and then they just keep taking your tax dollar and they tell you we want to stay in power forever. And it's our fault as a society for letting these people run our country. And I don't care. On a personal note, I think it's reprehensible that anybody would disrespect and try to twist for political gain the fact that people were sending out their thoughts and prayers. I'm sorry, there's a lack of humanity. I mean, they have no consideration at all. I mean, that was, and like you said, CJ. I mean, I'm reading. You get more and more. That guy was how this guy was loose is amazing. Did he have mental issues? Wow, this guy had some. I mean, some serious issues. By his own admission, he had all kinds of problems. And this is now. What do they do with people like this in San Francisco? They turn them loose in the street. We don't treat mental illness in this country anymore. They're starting to try to do it again, but they turn them into homeless people and put them out on the street. That's what we do in the United States, and we give illegals market rate housing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know what? Steve. That's a great point. And you know who that hurts? Transgender people who are normal. Well, I mean, some people would argue that they're not normal because they don't know, but that's their prerogative. I mean, you have a prerogative to like what kind of food you like, but as long as they're not harming anybody and they're part of this society, I believe, we have this country should be an inclusive, but it hurts the transgender community because you got the nutbags who are transgender, just like we got the nutbags that are not. But we had that one in Memphis. They never got. It took 2 years to get a redacted form of that wacko. But she was transgender, or he. I don't know which one it is. But that shooting in Memphis, that deadly shooting in Memphis in a Catholic school. 2 years, they would not release the manifesto because they don't want it. Yet they'll defend transgenderism, which that's not what they're defending. What they're doing is hurting it. They're saying that, look, we should not accept this kind of behavior from somebody, whether they're transgender, LGBTQ plus, heterosexual, any kind, metrosexual, or all the other labels that Democrats have come up with. You're either a member of society who abides by the rules, or you're not. And if you're not, there should be consequences. It's that simple. But no, the Democrats love to stick labels on everybody's forehead and then defend their antisocial behavior. And that's the problem. You can't. What he did was she, I don't know, was he Robin now or Robert? But in his manifesto, he said he might be Robin now, but he wanted to actually be Robert. But then he would be, he would have felt he failed if he went back, but he wanted a detransition. But look, he was confused. But they're going to argue about that. No, don't argue about that. Try to figure out how this guy got to where he is, a guy, girl, or whatever he wanted to be. I don't care what he wants to identify as. We know he was a biological male. It doesn't matter. He violated the social mores and the laws of this country. We cannot allow people like this, regardless of what democratic label or classification they fall into, that you either abide by the law and you're a functional part of our society, or you're not. And all these things are just typical deflections. Everything that Paul says, I've been the most, I brought transparency to the government in that 3-minute thing at BCC. Do we really know what happened with Malone? No. Do we know exactly what he said to those women he harassed? No. There are lawsuits. They'll be settled, and then they'll just disappear, and they'll hope everybody forgets about it. Do we know what happened in the John Perry case truly? No. We know a lot more about John Perry because it was a concentrated effort to get out. But this guy's covered up everything. You name it, he's covered it up. We just recently had another incident that you talked about at the school, and we haven't heard much about that, have we, CJ?
No, we have not. And again, are we ever going to hear anything about it?
No.
The one person that's asking the questions and is getting shit about it is Colin Dias. They shut him down. They cut him out. They try to have him break the law. They try to have him sign orders for money without the paperwork. And when he won't do it, they take it away and give it to somebody else who will, like Tommy Corey or Bobby Bailey or Mimi Larrabee or Shelley Pereira.
And they should be prosecuted for
That's right, they should.
malfeasance on a public official.
Right. Hey, we got to shift a little bit. We're going to stay in city government. But as many know, Charlie Denmead has left the park department. According to reports coming out of Government Center, Al Oliveira, the director of whatever he is, community operations or whatnot, is doing a comparison of what DCM and the park department will look like combined and privatized. Remember, these are your jobs, people. These are your jobs. This is Paul Coogan. City councils are asking, why did they get rid of Charlie Denmead? Why did they get rid of Al Oliveira? Who's got what on who? That's my question.
Well, let me look at my crystal ball here, CJ. I see them saying it's going to be cheaper if we privatize. They said that about trash. They said that about snow removal. And then ultimately it becomes more expensive, and the city no longer has any control over it.
That's right.
Because that's the city's admission that they don't hold the employees accountable.
Landscaper? Where are you going to get a landscaper that's going to go out to Kennedy Park in 90-degree temperatures, excessively humid, and cut the lawn for $21 an hour? Because that's what they're getting paid.
Yeah.
That's what they're getting paid. And remember, the park department at one point was asked to pay bills from last year in the next fiscal year's budget. And Nancy Smith refused to do that. Refused. And guess where Nancy Smith is now?
Gone. Retired.
Gone. Retired. Bye-bye.
Yeah, because for doing what? Holding them accountable. That is a mortal sin in government. And this is like now you got Gavin Newsom trying to shift all over the place like a chameleon, but everybody forgets that 20 years ago, Gavin Newsom had a 5-year plan to end homelessness in California, and now the homelessness problem is about 35% greater than it was, when 20 years ago.
Right.
So there are a lot more homeless. These people do nothing. What they're going to do is say they're going to save money right now by privatizing DCM, and they're going to save it short term, and then 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, oh baby, because every time you renew that contract and then you don't have the resources to do that work again, they're going to hold you hostage, just like we did with trash, just like we did with other things. This is typical government bullshit for a short promise and a short-term fix, And if you have any brains, it's like Paul Coogan. If you watch that debate, he swore up and down we would not be paying for Durfee at this point in time.
After
he swore
8
on
years.
a stack of Bibles.
After 8 years.
That's right. And he said it at every single meeting, not just at that debate. But that debate, unfortunately, was about hypotheticals. We were looking into the future.
It wasn't her choice, Stevie. She retired because she was forced out by Al Oliveira. Well, that's what the current message is. So, and remember something. Carlos Caesar had at the debate that happened on Wednesday that Paul refused to show up for because he had a prior engagement. Bullshit. Paul didn't have the questions. That's why he didn't show up.
Well, let me tell you.
I know that from experience. If he doesn't get the questions, he doesn't show up.
Well, let me get back to Nancy Smith. Nancy Smith retired because she was told that if she did not retire, she was going to be terminated. So she retired, and she lost days that she should have got paid for and everything else because she just couldn't take it. But this is the bully, the badgering of the Coogan administration. Now, we know that those sign things, I think Carlos Caesar had signs up, and then Coogan called that individual and said, "Oh, you're not supporting me," and in a manner that made it very clear it was a threat.
Yeah, you don't have a choice in the matter.
And blah blah blah. But that individual, to his credit, said, "No, I'm supporting Carlos Caesar. He's a longtime friend, and I worked with him for blah blah blah." And then Coogan basically said, well. In other words, now you're in his shit. But I always put signs up. Can I put signs? And then the guy, I wouldn't have done it, but the guy let him put his signs up there too. So both signs exist on that particular location. But this is the way they do it. They bully badger. It's like either resign, either retire, or we're gonna make you fight us in court for the days we owe you. You're gonna fight us in court for money that we owe you. You're gonna fight us in court, and everybody doesn't listen. Nancy Smith worked an awful long time. CJ used to affectionately refer to her as the Park Nazi.
The Park Nazi, that's right.
But she took, she was very good at keeping records and doing her job, and she did a good job.
She did everything by the book.
But most people will not fight the fight because they don't have the wherewithal. They're too old. They're eligible for retirement, and they say, something, I'm not going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars in my retirement in court for 2 years. But we have had people. Remember that individual on a police department got terminated, and it took her like 4 or 5 years to get back, and she won her case, and she got all her money back, all her pay, got a giant check, got reinstated with full seniority. And to her credit, she walked in, she got her checks, they gave her a badge and her gun, and then she said, "Yeah, take the badge, their gun, I quit." And she went and worked at another job.
There you go.
You sued the police department and you won, correct?
That's right.
And somebody sued the fire department and won, and got years of seniority back. And has just recently, he came back finally after years, and he really put the boots to him. And now he quadrupled his retirement legally. Why? Because the city pushed him off the job, and they pushed her off the job. Yeah, she retired, but she retired with a gun to her head. And they put her in a position where they said, something, you're either going to have to fight us, and this is the way you want to end your career. You can get a full retirement, and she chose that. And that's her prerogative as an individual. And she did a great job. She did a good job. And we remember another park commissioner, Marcy Yetkin. She didn't do what she was told. She was bounced, unceremoniously.
And illegally.
Illegally. Yeah, but who cares about the legal shit?
That's right. Who cares about the law?
There you go about the legal stuff. But this is the Coogan method. Strong arm. This is not, and they're not delicate about it. They will threaten and bully and badge you. I know another person that got out of the Florida school system, went to another school system because she was told that they'd file false charges against her just to harass her. And she went, you know something? F this. I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. Exactly.
I can't take this place.
And let me tell you something right now. If Paul Coogan should happen to lose the preliminary, which we can pray to God happens, I will guarantee you that for the last 90 days of his office, he will spend. He will go through a hiring spree. And he'll make sure every one of his friends have a job.
There's only about
if he loses in the general, if he should make it through the preliminary and make it to the general and lose there, he will do the same thing. Spend.
Well, let's just hope the voters turn out, CJ, and we get a vote. I mean, in a perfect world, he won't make it through the primary. In a almost perfect world, he will be running against someone, and when you total all the votes for everybody else, they outnumber his votes. So
that's what we need.
Looking at a
loss. Right now, there is over 4,000 mail-in ballots have been sent out. I better see 4,000 mail-in ballots sent back because you got no damn excuse. You were able to file the application to get the mail-in ballot. You better be able to fill it out because there's one dot you got to fill in. Slip it in an envelope, sign the envelope, put it in another envelope, put it in the mail. That's all it takes. Simple.
Right.
That's simple.
That's right. And I know we're running.
You're right. I believe it's going to be rigged. Well, I want to thank you all for watching.
Labor Day.
It's Labor Day weekend. Enjoy the weekend. The Liberal Club is open for business on the Holy Ghost feast. Go get your malasadas, get your bafana, get your chorizo, get your beans. It's all there. And be there all weekend.
And keep those children in your thoughts and prayers. And if the Democrats don't like it, you know what I'm saying. Pick a finger.
That's it. Have a great long weekend. And remember, we'll see you on Monday. Stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Have a great weekend.
It just started to rain.